What's going on, guys? Your boy LQ, Mr. Real Deal Fantasy HQ, and welcome to another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe. But wow, week 16, the second round of the playoffs, where we got to make some tough decisions, make the right decisions to put us in position to be successful. So I'm here to help out with that. So I don't want to waste any more time. So let's get right into the episode. So let's start off with some accountability. Now, I know I told you guys to fade the Texans defense last week. The process there is that the defense will be exhausted just based on the offense with Davis Mills not being able to get anything together. So obviously a last minute change. They put Case Keenum in and he looked a little bit better on that offense, but whatever. We're putting the Texans in this week, going up against the Browns defense, and they were getting a lot of pressure on Will Levis last week. 15 QB pressures and 7 sacks and 1 interception. This is what we want to see out of this Texans defense. And going up against Joe Flacco, who's still taking the chances downfield, there is a lot of upside for turnovers here. And when you add in how much pressure that the Texans defense has been getting to quarterbacks in recent weeks, Joe Flacco's not that mobile guy to be getting out of pressure and avoiding, extending plays like that. So I like the Texans defense this week, just with the upside of Joe Flacco going downfield aggressively, getting some turnovers, getting some pressure, and creating some sacks to get some fantasy points on the board this week with the Texans defense. Next up, Thursday Night Football, we got my Rams versus the Saints. Now, I'm telling you to plug in the Rams this week as a great defense with upside to get some sacks, create some turnovers. They were flying all over the field last week against the Commanders. Now, I know in the back half, they kind of let the gas up, and the Commanders were making this pushback, putting some points on the board, but that was a huge mistake by Sean McVay and Raheem Morris making the adjustments for the defense, where guys were just half-assing it, and the Commanders were actually able to put some points on the board with Jacoby Brissett. But that is neither here or there. They're going to be creating tons of pressure. Another defense last week that were able to get 15 QB pressures, only 1 sack, but that's because Sam Howell is a mobile quarterback, so therefore he avoided a lot of them. Now you're going against Derek Carr, where we see him under pressure, not just this season, but seasons beyond. He is terrible under pressure. This season, he has 3 interceptions, completing less than 50% of his passes while under pressure. And listen, this O-line that the Saints have, they're a solid O-line, but they're top 10 in sacks allowed this season as well. So when you have Byron Young and Aaron Donald creating pressure, causing havoc, I can see Derek Carr hitting the ground a couple of times this game. And I like how this defense with Jonathan Johnson back there at safety for the Rams, he's making this defense a lot more electric as well, getting some interceptions this season as well. So the upside there for turnovers and sacks. You know how I like to play it, man. Create some turnovers, get some sacks, get some fantasy points. Next up, I got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as a safe play this week going against the Jags. Now, Trevor Lawrence, since week 13, the loss of Christian Kirk, he has been struggling to make some plays to keep some drives alive. They actually have been struggling since week 13 to convert on third down. They are ranked 20th in the NFL since the loss of Christian Kirk. Now, this Bucs defense, man, they've been really impressive, being that they've been able to maintain a top 10 defense. I really had low expectations for this Bucs team in general, but they are stepping up to be a top 10 defense this season. And also, they've been giving up a lot of chunk plays. This is where Calvin Ridley or Evan Ingram really come into play, where they're making the chunk plays. But teams have not been converting a ton of points on the Bucs after these chunk plays. They're actually a top 5 defense when it comes to the red zone. So if Trevor Lawrence is struggling to convert on third down, and the Bucs are allowing 35% of the opponent third down percentage in the last 3 games, they've been cutting drives short. So I really like this upside. It's a defense that can maintain the points with some upside, with some sacks here and there, because they have 9 sacks in the last 3 games. So they're still getting pressure to the quarterback, and this is where the fantasy points will be living at. Now to get into 2 defenses that I think you should be fading this week. I got a bonus for you, but man, looking at this Cowboys defense, man, it's another week of fading the Dallas Cowboys just based on the matchup. Man, they let up a lot of rushing yards to James Cook last week and Josh Allen. They went out there and stomped them, man. And listen, they're on the road again. Dolphins will be home. And with this matchup, man, we just saw Raheem Mostert crack the franchise record for the Dolphins. He's going to be running crazy out there. And you also have a Devon Achane out there next in line ready to eat. So I'm not liking this Dallas Cowboys defense this week in starting lineups just based on this rushing attack. If the Dolphins are going to be taking the blueprint of what they've seen the Bills have done to them them, man. The last 2 weeks, the Cowboys have allowed the most rushing yards. So I'm telling you right now, just with this rushing attack, it has me worried of putting the Dallas Cowboys into starting lineups. And I didn't even mention Tyreek Hill could be on the way back. So with this passing attack with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle stepping up in replacement of him, if Hill is back, I'm still not going to even try to put the Dallas Cowboys into anywhere near my starting lineups this week. Now for a bonus fade. Now here's why. Just recently, I just been scrolling Twitter. You know how I do, always scrolling and seeing what the fantasy streets are talking about. And the fantasy streets are looking like people are picking up the Raiders defense, and I don't like them in this matchup whatsoever. I don't want you to get cute here thinking that Mahomes is having a career low in multiple categories. I've said this before, but his alpha presence is still felt in that AFC West. Now, last time Mahomes has met the Raiders defense, the Chiefs put up 31 points. So I don't want you looking at last week, what they did to the Chargers, 63 points. Yeah, that's cute. That's great. Their defense scored big. Now I don't want you to get cute putting them in your starting lineups when you need them the most. It's ride or die here. You're in the second round of the playoffs. Let's not try to get cute here, man, because yes, Mahomes is having a bad year, but this Raiders defense, I don't think they're prepared for Patrick Mahomes in this offense, even though they're struggling, with some of their pass catchers. But Rashid Rice has been looking great. Travis Kelce is still Travis Kelce. Kadarius Toney, we already know what he is, but this run game as well has been getting alive with Jared McKinnon and CEH as well. So I don't want you to expect the Raiders to show up and show out how they did last week and then put them in starting lineups this week, because, man, these teams, division games are different. It's a different tone. It's a different vibe. They play each other twice a year, every year. So please disregard what you saw last week and try to understand you don't want to bet against Mahomes in a division game. So this wraps up another great episode of RotoBaller Fantasy Sports YouTube channel. Please make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're almost at 20K. We're like right here. Let's get to 20K. Please help us out, man. We do appreciate you guys returning to these videos, and hopefully these videos are helping you throughout the playoffs. But man, make sure you guys like and subscribe, and please follow me at Real Deal Fantasy on all social media platforms. Until next time.